Welcome to World Rowing's Coastal Race Module Keynote Series. In this session, we're going to be covering boat entry. My name's Guin, Batten, former Olympic silver medalist and world coastal champion. Let's get going. So, in the first example we've got, it's a stern rigger single scull, and you can see the in image A up here, you can see the athlete from Uganda is approaching the boat, and the two boat handlers on either side are holding the boat for him. Now you can see first is the plant of the pivot leg. The athlete's facing out towards the sea, so facing towards the bows of the boat at this point. That pivot leg, the plant of the pivot leg, is happening just next to the side of the boat, and then the step leg, so the leg that is stepping into the boat, swings around as the athlete twists their body around to be facing the stern of the boat. So it's a plant of the pivot leg, it's a step with the outside leg, and then as that accurate placement takes place, the pivot leg is then lifted and also placed into the boat. And you can see the athlete does that very well, and as they step in, they're sitting down onto the seat itself and grasping the handles to take that first stroke. Now I don't know whether you note the coach or the boat handler in yellow is positioned on the behind the rigger and behind the oar, so you can see that means that he is having to go all the way around the length of that oar to get to the stern of the boat. So again, just really explore where your boat handlers or your coaches are standing when you're training. You can also see that the grasp onto the handles has not been a perfect grasp. One of the handles, its hands quite far low, so its thumbs can no longer get onto the end of the oar, and you can see here that the button has come away from the gate, which again is an element of a risk of a crab, especially if the boat handlers now give a big push to that single scull. So just be mindful of that. But again, in summary, you've got a plant, the pivot, the step, and the sit. Okay, so let's go into another example here. Both these examples are from the Commonwealth Regatta that were held in Sandbanks in Poole in the United Kingdom. Here you've got a Canadian athlete here coming in, and you can see this again is slightly different option of entering the boat. You can see what we have here is the handle has been moved. Can you see this handle here is parallel with the boat? So the other handle of the oar is in the right position, but this one has been moved to allow a better entry by the athlete so they don't have to step over the oar. So we have a similar sort of setup. The athlete coming in, placing that pivot leg close to the boat. They're pivoting their body and stepping across as they turn to face the stern. You can see here the entry leg is now placed in the middle of the boat, and the pivot leg is being brought in. At this point, the sit, the grasp, and the row takes place. And you can see at this point, you can see really clearly the athlete has their palm of their hands open to receive the oar, and the boat handler will be just twisting that handle round and placing it into the Canadian athlete's hands before she leaves. Again, look here, make sure you can see here this boat handler, the coach on the left, by putting that boat parallel to by putting the oar parallel to the boat, they've overcome the challenge that was on the previous example. So now let's look at a third example, okay? And this is for a bow rigger. So this is where the rigger is closer to the bows, and so it means that the entry is much clearer. They're not having to step over that rigger. So again, got the athlete coming in, and the pivot leg, the pivot of the body around the pivot leg, and then the step into the boat. So you can see again it's a switch here because we're coming in from the left, where the last two examples were coming in from the right. The pivot leg is planted, the step leg comes round and the athlete starts to face the stern. So you can see that entry level leg, or the step leg, is placed into the middle of the boat so it doesn't rock up. Okay, the athlete sits, and it's interesting in this picture the wave is just hitting at that point as the athlete sits, so a really sensitive point to sit. You can then see here that the athlete has open palms and waiting for the boat handlers to bring those blades into the palms before the grasp and row. So it's a really great example of boat handlers using good technique to make that space for their athletes as they come in. It's quite interesting. In B here, you can see that the boat handler here is using his thigh to balance that boat up. So they've got 3 points of contact, one on the oar, one on the boat and seat. You can see he's holding the seat back and using his thigh on the oar to balance that boat. So a really great hand grasp. Okay, right. So let's look at some videos. Okay, and I've got some videos here. These are in the toolkit, so you can get access to those if you're on the World Rowing Coastal Race module. And here we're looking here at the 2 entries. Actually, it's the final. It's the final of the World Rowing Beach Sprint Finals from Shenzhen, and it's the women's solo final.
As we hear the umpire call attention. And they're off. The last race here of the World Rowing Beach Sprint Finals.
She's so quick, Jung-Woo Ting, straight down to the water. She's beaten Robin Ha-Winks by a couple of meters, and we know that the Chinese have such a fast start. But Robin Ha-Winks is no slouch. She's not let them get away.
So if we just look again, just very gently look at that positioning as they go in, both handles straight onto that stroke. Grasps, great grasps. And great first strokes from both of those athletes. So let's have another look at another example. Okay, we've got here, so again, this is at the World Rowing Beach Sprint Finals in Shenzhen, and it's the quad sculls. So slightly different for the quad sculls because it's the coxswain that's coming into that boat. And in this video, we've got Hong Kong and France, and they show great examples of starts. So you can see both boats here are ready on the water. The crews are either side. You've got in the Hong Kong boat, they're all standing on the same side of the boat. So as they go through, they're going to rock the boat to one side to aid entry. And the French boat have opted for entering from either side of the boat. Okay, and looking here, both boat handlers are at the stern of the boat. You can see crews entering into the boats straight in. They've got a little bit more time here, and you can see the coxswain straight in, get the seats down, the crews immediately off, and the boat handlers are helping to get the rudder down. So let's go back. Here's some examples of a crew entering from the side, so entering from the water without a run. Some teams can be incredibly imaginative. There's a team here using a step method to help the coxswain enter the boat. Sometimes it pays off. You can see the slide on the left here where it's working, and the coxswain's stepping up into that boat. But you know, it sometimes doesn't always pay off, and you can see here the boat has left before the coxswain has been able to get into their seat, and they've ended up being at the back of the boat. So you can be imaginative, but it doesn't always pay off. A couple more tips here. You can see in this still here an example of where the boat handler here from Wales, okay, has blocked the runner coming into the boat. So they're actually physically in the way. Okay, so don't block the runner's line into the boat if you're the boat handler. An accurate grasp is so important. And you can see here, I love this picture, and you'll probably seen this used quite a lot. We've got the French athlete here, and that grasp, open palms, both handlers are presenting the grasps to her as she grasps, and a wave is hitting the boat at exactly the same time. So real skill in timing in getting that bit right. Another top tip is, of course, your first stroke itself may well be over a wave. We've got an example here from the Asian Beach Games of a men's double, and what they're doing as they come over, they're trying to keep their weight into the bows of that boat so that they're not having to, they're not crashing down onto their seats as they go up over their waves. One of the ways to do that is to keep your speed down over the biggest waves, so that you avoid being knocked off the seat. Okay, bit of a tip really again for beach sprints when you're doing those starts, or is to make sure you train on the beach that you're intending to race on. So what you have here is you've got the gentle sloped beach, for example in like Poole in Great Britain. It's a gentle sloping beach, and what you'll find is that the boat is positioned, the entry point is a couple of strokes away from the first wave break, okay, that they're going to meet. Whereas if you're on steeper sloping beaches, like Shenzhen, you will see that quite often the wave break is hitting the boat either at the point of entry or at the first stroke. So again, bit of advice with your athletes is make sure when you're preparing to race at an international event, do your homework on the slope of that beach and practice on similar slopes so you know how best to do your starts training. I've got a couple more examples of endurance beach starts because a lot of what we're doing is around sprint. So we've got two examples here. This is an example from Canada, where we had a mass beach start on a gravel beach rather than a sandy beach. And just to remind you, the athlete themselves, there's no running down to the beach in the endurance format. So you can see here, Bao is in deep water, and in this video he uses a jump in to enter the boat. Stroke is in shallower water, and so takes a step in rather than a jump in, and both boat handlers are stabilizing the boat during that entry, holding the fin off the bottom and making sure that they're behind the oars so that they can get clear as the boat leaves as quickly as possible. So let's have a little look at this video. Did you see? So we had the bow jumped in and the stroke stepped in before they got themselves off and away. We got a really nice clean start, and you can see the other 18 boats making their way off. So now let's look at a double sculls again, and this one is in a more gently sloping beach, so there's a shallower entry here, and you can see here is a lineup. It's a national championships being held in Great Britain. It's a gently sloping beach. You can see there's two boat handlers, and the field is lined up on the waterline. Okay, so what we're going to see here is that look at both boat 7 and boat 12. Boat 7 uses a step in from the same side of the boat, okay, and boat 12 uses a mixture of step in and sit from different sides of the boat. Okay, let's have a look at this video. Okay, straight. So crew 7, both sides of the boat. The crew 12 came in from different sides and used a mixture of combination. You can see that crew 7 got a much cleaner start. So if you want more video examples, there's lots more out there, and they're growing all the time as racing gets more and more televised. So really head over to the World Rowing YouTube channel. Well done! That's the end of this keynote. If you like what you heard, please make sure you comment in the space below. And if you want to learn more about coastal rowing, head over to worldrowing.com. Take care, see you soon.